you and your business. Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast. Right now, partly cloudy and 56 degrees. Tonight, cloudy skies and a chance of rain and thunderstorms between 10 and 3 in the morning. That chance at 50%. Tomorrow, a chance of rain and thunderstorms, then showers after 2 in the afternoon. That chance up to 80%. Tomorrow night, rain before 9. A chance of snow between 9 and 3 in the morning. That's also at 90%. Got a winter storm watch and a high wind watch for Tuesday night. We're getting set for Wildcat Insider here on News Radio KMAN.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. This is Wildcat Insider with the Mercury sports editor Tim Everson and KMAN sports director Mitch Fortner.
Let's pretend it was the beginning of the baseball season. I was going to ask you this question. What do you think is more likely to happen? K-State baseball opens up the year 6-5 after facing ranked, either at the time ranked opponents or previously ranked or now ranked, or John Cena turning heel at Elimination Chamber. Which was more likely to happen? Coin toss, right? I don't know. Both seem unlikely to happen. Timing-wise, K-State doesn't necessarily always come out of the gate super hot, especially now that Coach Hughes is, loading up the non-conference schedule with all these tough teams away from Manhattan, Kansas. And, John Cena hasn't been a bad guy in 23 years. So what are we going to do here? Well, both have happened. John Cena is now a bad guy in the WWE, and Pete Hughes has himself a winning ball club coming back to Manhattan, Kansas to get ready for the home opener on Wednesday against the Creighton Blue Jays. Welcome into Wildcat Insider. Mitch Fortner, Tim Everson from the Manhattan Mercury is back in studio, and across the glass we have Cole Dutchendorf on the board. He can answer your calls. He can take your texts. 785-537-1350 is the phone number to call. Phone lines are open throughout the show with the exception of Wyatt Thompson joining us at 510. I do want to lead off with some women's basketball talk as well here in just a few moments. And we'll talk, of course, basketball with Wyatt, a little baseball as well. And we'll talk, we got to mention the NFL Combine and what 3 Wildcats did. Super impressive, and we'll tell you exactly how impressive they were. We're talking about DJ Giddens, Jacob Parrish, and Marquise Siegel ahead of April's NFL draft. But this past weekend was the Combine. All 3 of them doing an exceptional job. We'll give you some numbers a little bit later on in hour number 2. Also, speaking of baseball, I'm going to show the camera here as we're streaming live on YouTube. 2 tickets right there. 2 tickets to the opener against Creighton. So text Batcats to 785-537-1350. Again, text Batcats, 785-537-1350. If you want 2 tickets to Wednesday's opening day at Toyton Family Stadium against Creighton, remember, that is a 3 o'clock first pitch. It's a matinee in Toyton Family Stadium. Also Friday when they have started 3-game series against William and Mary. They are. That's also a 3 o'clock game this coming Friday. Before we continue on with the Cats, I want to give a shout out to Manhattan High Wrestling. Manhattan High boys winning back-to-back state championships for the first time in program history. They hold off Garden City. Bit of a nail-biter there down the stretch, but the Indians end up winning the state championship. Manhattan girls, a heck of a performance as well, along with congratulations to our other state qualifiers for their performances in postseason play. Now, I want to actually, as we just gave you a big open about baseball, but I actually want to lead off with the K-State women's basketball team for just a moment. It is the number one thing weighing on my mind today. Last night, really the week, it was a rough week for K-State. Just outmatched against a Baylor team who was missing already their best player, Dariana Littlepage-Buggs, and then another starter goes down injured in that game against K-State on Monday, where K-State was still trying to stay in the hunt for the Big 12 championship, but Baylor was not giving K-State any breaks. They were knocking down open threes, and K-State loses to Baylor. And then yesterday, after not playing for almost a whole week, it felt like, the K-State women going to Ames, Iowa, last game of the regular season. Iowa State wins 85-63. They were playing at the exact same time as the men, so I did not get to watch the game. I wish I could break that thing down for you. I heard there was a whole lot of complaints about the officiating. I did see some of those highlights. I do concur with some of those complaints, and I'm not trying to say that with purple-shaded glasses on, but K-State still lost that game by 22 points. They got thumped in the second half. And Audie Crooks goes off for 36 points and 10 rebounds. The reason it's weighing on me is because we don't know the answer, how the committee is feeling right now. There was a lot of losses for bubble teams. And when I say bubble teams, on the women's basketball side, talking about North Carolina, Tennessee, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Baylor. I mean, they lost the Big 12 championship yesterday to TCU, Alabama. All these teams lost games this week. It's kind of a brutal week for these teams that are trying to earn a top 16 seed and host the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. Tim, I don't know about you, but we saw last week from the committee that there's still a top 16 team heading into that game against Iowa State. That was a game on national television where you lose by 22 points. My gut right now, even though RPI still looks pretty good, Aokali's supposed to come back and all that, I feel like K-State has some work to do.
Yeah, I think that is definitely true. It's tough because you mentioned the advanced analytics or whatever. Look at the net; they're still top 10 overall. They have a bunch of really good wins. It's just it's just not knowing what the committee is valuing. I think we talked about the last time that they put out their list. They were either last or second to last, either 15th or 16th overall. You hope that with the teams losing around you and with the resume that you have built, plus with maybe some grace given about the Aokali situation, that you can just kind of sneak in there again. But it's tough. It's tough to kind of guarantee anything right now, and so the only thing that they can do is try to make a little bit of noise in Kansas City to help kind of secure the committee's situation.
I think it's a must. You got to do some damage in Kansas City because K-State ends up with the 5 seed in Kansas City, so they are one spot out of having a double bye. And K-State now has lost 3 of the last 4. Jeff Mitty last week, we had him on Thursday. He was pretty transparent about them being so upfront about Aokali's status. And, for every announcement they've made about Aokali injuries, especially the last couple of years, and, expecting her to have her back and all this at a certain time, they've all come out to be true. She just keeps being injury prone, she just keeps getting banged up, and it's so similar to last year. Aokali goes down, she misses a month. K-State just never quite really was the same team. No. They were, for such a long time, a favorite to win or be in the conversation for a Big 12 championship. The rest of the crew without Aokali trying to hold on strong. It's just, I've seen it too many times, and I don't like this trend, especially when you're heading into postseason play this week, is that, too many times this year has K-State just been in a grind and they don't make the right plays during the grind. Just one game, in my opinion. And they haven't lost very many games. So many games have been just with Aokali, just so many blowouts. They look like one of the best teams in the country. And they lose by 22 yesterday. Only one game was not the case where they grinded and they won the game. And that was the first game against Iowa State, where they went to overtime. Iowa State's a good team, and they're fighting for their lives right now. They're a bubble team. I think they got moved up to the last 4 in or like the next 4 in or something like that. Or first 4 buys is what it is. First 4 buys, not playing in the first 4 of the NCAA tournament. And now when they get in a hole and things go wrong like it did in the third quarter and you're not getting the calls you like and you're getting frustrated, boy, do they do too much. They're not hitting shots, and the opposing team stretches things out. And K-State has had a really tough time of recovering from those bad runs.
I think that's part of the problem, and that this might impact K-State negatively if they don't get to host in March Madness. It's when they lose, there's times where they unravel as a team. They don't look great. They don't shoot it well. They turn the ball over a ton. That's what we saw against Baylor and West Virginia, where they just could not turn the ball over. It was just consistent folding under the ball pressure, or it's just missing shots like Iowa State or like a Duke game when they were getting shots, they just couldn't hit it. I got curious because it's so night and day that the shooting percentages, and I wanted to find out just how night and day it was this season. In wins, K-State is shooting 51% from the field and 42% from three. In losses, 38% from the field, 25% from three. That's 17% difference in three-point percentage. That's not good. And I don't know what it is, if it's mental maybe, if it's just you start to miss a couple, you see them, they're not falling, and then your confidence is shot, and then you get down by so much. I don't know what it is, but that definitely feels like something that could be weighing in the committee's mind as we head to that part of the season.
But going back to the transparency, I think that's a great stat you just brought up there, because it does. I mean, it just felt like, without looking at numbers and just watching the score on my ESPN app from a distance and noticing that this game is really getting out of hand for K-State in that third quarter, that I just kind of draw two conclusions. Yes, I think just missing shots is one, but also just hurried shots or early shot clock. I have a spot open three, let's just take it and see what happens. And maybe trying to get three scores on one possession, trying to feel like, that one big score is all of a sudden you're now back in the game.
Those are
shots,
you're
down 10.
Those are shots you could get on any possession at any time. And when you're down 10 to 12, like you're saying, you can't. There's no 9-point shot in basketball. You have to get it possession by possession. And I think, especially against Iowa State, it felt like K-State knew that they couldn't stop Audie Crooks. There was just nothing they could do between maybe a quick whistle and also just you don't have Ayoka Lee. You're lacking the defensive talent to stop Crooks. So then all of a sudden they're launching, like you're saying, you're 5 seconds into the possession in the half court, and Tamira's launching a three from the right side. Or Jalen Glenn's, they're not necessarily bad looks, but you could probably get better looks to try to work yourself back into the game.
It's not the worst team in the world either to shoot threes but I mean, for example, Terran Sides just isn't on a good run lately. This last week, we need to get you a throat lozenges or something, sir.
So sorry.
Got a little cough going there. But anyway, Terran is struggling right now from three. At least the last couple of games, she's just 2 of 13. It's not consistently falling for her. That's somebody you don't want missing shots in a big game like that. But I just keep going back to the long runs of not responding well. And I just don't like that trend as you get into a very important time in conference play. Charlie Cream, as you're now going to the Big 12 tournament, Charlie Cream coming out with an updated his updated bracketology earlier today, still has K-State as a 4 seed. Now, that technically doesn't mean anything, but that's an educated guess, right?
Yeah.
There was a little bit of chaos this weekend because, for example, Tennessee, who's like K-State, right there on that 4-5 line, really close. You could make an argument for either side. Should they host? Should they not host? Well, this week, they lost on the road in number 15 Kentucky. Then they faced a Georgia team at home. They should be fine. That's a team that won 3 games in SEC play. Right out of the gate, they're down 15, and they lost the game by 3. They couldn't make the comeback on their home floor. That really hurt them. North Carolina just lost 2 games. 1 on the road against a ranked team in Duke, 1 at home against a team they should have beat. They lose by 3. Ohio State just lost the game against Maryland. Ole Miss just lost the game against South Carolina, but they got to bounce back against LSU. But they just kind of played themselves into a 4 seed. Baylor just lost the Big 12 championship game, and Alabama goes on the road and loses to Oklahoma. That's another good team. So all these good teams that are, worthy probably of hosting the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament also took some hits. 75% of all of these teams that are worthy and kind of on that line of hosting the first and second round lost a game or 2 this weekend when it's kind of really meaning something to try to make that last-ditch effort before the tournaments come up and you're also playing for seeding. Where K-State is at right now is they missed out on the double bye, but they get a single bye. And I'll put it to you this way, Tim. I do feel like K-State wound up on the right side of the bracket. Even though K-State, over a week ago, did not play well at West Virginia. K-State will either play the winner of BYU and UCF. K-State should take care of business on Thursday at 11 a.m. Quarterfinals, West Virginia. West Virginia is not the same animal when they're away from the WVU Coliseum. They're not as good. They're not as good on defense. They don't force as many turnovers. The numbers are drastically different from playing at home and playing anywhere else outside their home gym. And then TCU, Arizona, Colorado, Houston. K-State's beaten them all. Well, it didn't beat Colorado, but Colorado probably won't make it through to TCU, you would imagine. You never know, but it's probably going to be TCU that K-State would meet anyway because TCU just won the Big 12 championship. And that was the best defensive effort I've seen from K-State probably all year. That was a clinic against the Horned Frogs.
Yeah, it shapes up really nicely. I agree. I think that, assuming that, they're J.J. Quinterly in West Virginia doesn't look like they look whenever they're in Morgantown, they have a pretty, decent shot of at least getting to the semifinals. Would that be enough? I don't know. I don't know if that, but it certainly would help. I mean, you'd get a couple good wins. That win against West Virginia would, I think, carry some weight, compared to what other teams can get in their other conference tournaments. So you have to kind of, shift your mindset now a little bit, and it's kind of that new season feel. It's just like, all right, we gotta go get wins. We gotta get wins, so that way we can host, and that way we can kind of redeem how things ended when we hosted last year.
And I think that is part of it. You're playing West Virginia. If you handle business in that first round, A, that's a win that West Virginia can't get. And then B, if you can take down West Virginia, West Virginia currently, based on the polls, is sitting in a spot where they would be hosting 2 games. So I think that if you can take down West Virginia, and then if you get a Baylor quarterfinal loss or whatever happens in the quarters, I mean, the most important thing is take care of your own thing so that you're not having to worry and rely on other teams handling business. But Baylor and West Virginia are 2 Big 12 teams right ahead of K-State. If you can try to get some revenge on one or both of those losses, I think that's going to bode well for you.
I just have a tough time right now, as Charlie Cream does. He has Baylor as a 5, K-State as a 4. The only reason I get that is Aokali's coming back for the NCAA tournament, and it looks like Dariana Littlepage Buggs, Baylor's best player, might be out for the season with an injury. So that could be the difference. So is he just assuming or taking into the consideration how the committee would feel about injuries and seeding? And in that case, plus you add on the net still is in love with K-State, despite they only have 2 quad 1 wins. Everybody else has like 7 or 8, it feels like, in the top 10. Aokali coming back, and you just look at K-State's record, solid record, and statistically, they are extremely good. Like, there's not many stats out there that would say that they don't belong as a top 4 or top 16 seed for the NCAA tournament. But I don't feel comfortable unless K-State gets a win or 2 in Kansas City. If they get 2, then I'm feeling really good.
Something to kind of remember about Charlie Cream, too. I remember back to last year, he was fairly convinced, and I think went on multiple shows to say that Colorado was going to get that 4 seed over K-State.
He was on this very show.
That was it. Okay, I wasn't. I was.
He was on this show. Yeah.
So it's just, and that's not a hit against him. It's a hard thing to predict. There's lots of you don't know what a committee of a bunch of people is going to choose to do. So we just don't know. That's his guess, and Cole's right. You just got to take care of business.
Let's go ahead and take a timeout. When we come back from basketball to baseball, how hot are the Wildcats still, even though they weren't able to get it done against number 2, now number 1 in the country, LSU, now that the Wildcats are getting ready to open up home play on Wednesday? Wildcats are next on Wildcat Insider.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. Building and nurturing relationships that very often last decades is the trust company's key to designing and managing a plan to meet your short and long-term life goals. If we do our job, our relationships will become one of mutual trust, and we hope to make a friend. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Our only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com. At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's space for public safety or community gathering, we build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
Few people choose to go into a nursing home. However, many people feel more independent when they no longer have to rely on family and friends to take care of them. When that time comes, consider visiting the Leonardville Nursing Home. Their dedicated staff will provide your loved one with the dignity and respect they deserve, offering interesting activities and a home-like environment with private rooms available. Call them today at 293-5244. Leonardville Nursing Home. They care.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen on News Radio, KMAN.
International Women's Day is a holiday celebrated annually as a focal point in the women's rights movement. Yusha Reddy and Mary Stamey will join us Tuesday.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen, weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Cole Dutchendorf with the Wildcat Insider Sports Update. K-State's Maximus Martin was named the Big 12 Player of the Week after finishing with a 14.04 OPS and helping the Wildcat offense outscore opponents 28-17 at the Frisco Classic. The shortstop earned all tournament honors after finishing with the second most RBIs and runs with 5 each in the tournament. David Gasson had 21 points and 8 boards as K-State defeated Colorado 65-56 on Sunday to snap a 4-game losing streak. The veteran center moved past 1,000 points in his collegiate career with the effort. Brendan Hausen scored 11 and Doug McDaniel registered 10 points and 7 assists for the Cats offensively. The Wildcats will visit Cincinnati on Wednesday and finish at home against Iowa State on Saturday. Audie Crooks put Iowa State on her shoulders in the third quarter, scoring 14 of her career-high 36 points as the Cyclones blew past number 14 K-State 85-63 in their regular season finale on Sunday. Tamara Poindexter scored 17 points, and Serena Sundell added 10 points, 6 boards, and 6 assists for K-State. The loss knocked K-State out of a tie with number 21 Oklahoma State for the number 3 seed in the Big 12 standings, falling to the 5th seed in the Big 12 tournament. Former Kansas City Royal third baseman Mike Moustakas will sign a ceremonial one-day contract to retire a Royal on May 31st, ahead of their game versus the Detroit Tigers, the team announced today. It felt appropriate.
You know what? Sure. One of the most talked about events over the weekend. John Cena turning heel. That and K-State baseball.
And I learned today what heel meant. Mitch gave me a little dictionary explanation from the wrestling because I didn't know.
Do you know what heel means, Tim?
Oh, yeah. Bad guy.
Bad guy.
Yeah.
I'm learning every day here. It's amazing.
Well, I told Cole, I was like, there's a Wikipedia page. Pro wrestling has its own language. There's a ton of lingo that if I were to just start talking wrestling lingo, I don't know if anybody would know what I'm talking about. Has to come up naturally. I remember coming up with but using the term "pop the boys," and Cole or John and Mason were like, whoa, hold on a second. What the hell does "pop the boys" mean? And I went,
understandable.
I don't have time to explain it, but if you go look it up, it'll make a lot of sense. And then people start using it in their everyday lingo. And now the word I hear the most from people is jabroni. That is wrestling lingo. That thanks to the Iron Sheik, thanks to The Rock, who, by the way, The Rock now buds with John Cena. They turned on Cody Rhodes. What a WrestleMania we have set up here in Las Vegas in 41 days. Anyway, the other big story from the weekend, pretty adjacent to John Cena turning heel is what K-State baseball is doing. First of all, I want to play this highlight here real quick.
Leads the team batting average, and Maximus puts a surge into this one, left center field, and it is bye-bye. Maximus Martin with the solo home run to start off the 8th, and his second home run of the season.
Wade Gerstner on the call. He was down in Frisco, Texas, as K-State takes 2 out of 3. They do lose to LSU, but they pick up wins against Sam Houston and Nebraska to get to 6-5 on the year. Maximus Martin, back-to-back weeks, K-State baseball gets weekly Big 12 honors. He was named the Big 12 Player of the Week. He went 6 of 12. His OPS was 1.404. He was on the all-tournament team. He led K-State with 5 RBI. He was second on the team with 5 runs scored, and he was second overall in the tournament also in both categories. So Maximus Martin cleans up. He's now the team leader in batting average at .467 is his batting average. He hit, again, .500 in Frisco, Texas. Let's start with the LSU game. Now, with this broadcasting on D1 Baseball, wasn't able to watch it. I admit it now. I do not subscribe. But was listening to the call here on KMAN, and we had ourselves a nail-biter against number 2. I think there were a couple of instances where LSU has a lead. You may think that, well, K-State gave it its best effort. They hung in for a little while. K-State was responding, and they did so multiple times. The game gets to 10 innings. I should say it gets to a 10th inning, but K-State was looking for the win in the 9th. And it was a play where there was a base knock into left center field. It was cut off very well by the left fielder who caught it on the hop while it was bouncing towards the wall. He's also running towards the wall. Hell of a play there. But here comes D. Kennedy around third. As he touches third base, the ball gets to the relay guy who's standing in shallow left. To me, it was a very similar play to Alex Gordon in the 2014 World Series Game 7 at that situation, do you send him or not? Well, if you know Pete Hughes baseball, and this was obviously something they did last year, pretty aggressive team. They're going to rely on you to go make a play to keep K-State from beating you. More pressure is on LSU in this situation to make a perfect throw to home, so D. Kennedy gets sent from third. Now, looking back on it, I saw the replay, and if it was me, I don't send him. Because in that situation, you got runners at first and third. Here comes Nick English, and you have one out. You have two chances, essentially, to get the game-winning run in. Now, I would imagine LSU probably would have walked Nick and get to whoever was next in the lineup, because then the only person you're worried about, obviously, is at third base. You load the bases, you try to go get that double play and end the inning. I think there were no doubt about it getting to walk Nick English just to set up the double play. Now, I don't know who comes up there next.
I can tell you here in 1 second.
But I didn't feel like I get where K-State's coming from. Being aggressive, putting the pressure on LSU. I felt like in that situation, looking back and watching the replay, that he probably shouldn't have been sent. But at the same time, I'm kind of torn on this. I don't mind being aggressive there. But if I'm being conservative and wanting the win and not taking a chance, I'm probably keeping D. Kennedy at third base.
I think for me, in the moment, I was in the same boat. I was in the K-Man studio listening to it, and I was okay with the decision in the moment. Even after watching the replay, I probably would lean that if I was a third base coach in that situation, probably would have done the same thing. I like the aggressiveness. I think one thing you have to do is take in the context of who you're playing too. When you have a chance to beat one of the top dogs, I think you have to make them beat you. I mean, it took a perfect relay from LSU for them to get them, and it wasn't by a ton. So I was okay with the decision. Obviously, hindsight 2020, you can live with them not sending D, have runners on the corners with one out, and just go from there. And maybe things play out differently. Maybe they don't. You'll never know. But I think overall, I was okay with it. And more than anything, I was just happy that they kept it close the entire time. I thought the 3-run shot in, I believe, the 7th inning that LSU had, I thought at that point it was, okay, this is going to be the part of the game where LSU does LSU things. They're a number 2 team in the nation. They're going to start to try to pull away. They're going to lean on their pitching, get a few more insurance runs. And instead, K-State got out of that inning, and they immediately put 3 more runs up on the board. I thought that was an extremely positive thing to take away from this game. They kept fighting the entire way, even down 3 in the top of the 10th. Even though they didn't score any runs in the bottom of the 10th, they still had a chance to tie the game. The tying run was at the plate, so I loved the fight that they showed, and then to also rebound and get 2 more wins to end the weekend.
Yeah, that closer for LSU was really good. It was about responding. And Tim, that LSU loss, yes, that was a kind of a tough one to swallow because you knew K-State belonged in that game. It took extra innings for number 2 to beat you. And consider this as well. This was a Friday. So LSU put their best guy on the mound. K-State puts Jacob Frost on the mound. Look, you're going head-to-head with one of the best teams in the nation to prove yourself on the big Friday night lights or Friday afternoon sunshine, whatever you want to call it in Frisco, Texas. But it's still their Friday guy. And so you're putting best on best in this game. It took extra innings. I don't know about you, Tim, but rarely do I have you consider it a positive loss, I guess. Like it's a loss you're certainly not disappointed in. You're disappointed that K-State didn't get the win. They were right there, and they were just feet away from winning that game and upsetting the number 2 team in the nation. But it still did more positive than negative.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that something that you mentioned at the start of the show, we're kind of used to K-State, playing these world beaters early in the season and nothing coming of it, but they're playing them just for the RPI. But, to be in a game versus LSU, to beat TCU, to beat Nebraska, to beat Arkansas, I mean, those are huge. It's huge wins. And to come up close against now the number 1 team in the country, that's going to serve this team as they get through the rest of non-conference play and then Big 12 play. And obviously that's where this team is headed. That's what this non-conference schedule was built to prepare this team for. And so, Pete Hughes has shown that he can get teams to a certain level after a certain point. And the fact that they're already kind of here, for me, just kind of shows they're I don't want to say ahead of schedule, but ahead of where they normally are for around this time of year.
I think that's fair. I think ahead of schedule, yeah, I think that's right. Was K-State 500 in Big 12 play last year? This non-con is harder, in my opinion, than last year's. They still got some tough teams to play in non-conference play, but you finally have the home schedule coming up. K-State's on the road longer than they typically are. It's typically 2 weeks, and this was 3 weekends straight on the road before you finally open up play. And 8 of the 11 teams you played, it were either preseason ranked, currently ranked, or now ranked. And you're 6-5. I mean, to me, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
This was set up for RPI to prepare you for Big 12 play, to prepare you for the postseason. Pete Hughes said it at the end of the season. He said it in the preseason this year that he felt like that non-conference totally prepared them to go win a regional and go play in a super regional. This is a whole different team almost than last year. There's so many new pieces. It's like, who knows how this is going to go? You hope for some positive things, a couple of wins here and there, but you're 6-5 after playing 8 ranked teams. You just kind of ran a gauntlet, and you came out with a winning record. Ahead of schedule is one thing. Already showing that you belong in the top 25. Look, K-State is not far out of the top 25 right now. If they would have beat LSU, K-State is a top 25 team right now, I would assume. Now, there was one coach in last week's poll for the USA Today that voted K-State, and they received 1 vote. That jabroni is now no longer voting for K-State. Shame on him for not paying attention to his own sport. But they're not far out, and I promise you that. We talked, with Aaron Fitt last week from D1 Baseball, and he was completely shocked and surprised about how well K-State competed. And guess what? He was in Frisco again and couldn't stop talking about K-State baseball. I said this last week, like, K-State playing this well this early, I've never seen this before.
Nope.
Not this early, not against this kind of talent. I mean, I thought this past weekend was the best for the offense. It's the best weekend that the offense has had so far. They hit 277. They hit 297, which bumped up their average on the season to 277. They walked 23 times in 3 games. They hit 8 home runs. For the last 5 games, K-State's offense has gone back-to-back in home runs for the last 5 games. Thought they really exploded against Sam Houston, the worst team of the tournament. 14 runs on 13 hits. Then again against Nebraska. For those that don't know, the Nebraska starter for that game Sunday threw a no-hitter against K-State last year. A super regional team. Got no hit by this guy. He got chased in 2 innings.
Big Ten champs last year, Nebraska.
Yeah, really good team that K-State's going to see 2 more times this year. K-State was leading 9-1 heading into the 8th inning. 9-1 or 9-2.
Yeah.
Heading into that 8th inning. K-State not only responded in that LSU game alone, they responded big time after losing that LSU game, and they go in the next 2 games and pretty much smother a couple of teams. I know the final score against Nebraska was 9-6. They salvaged some runs there late in the game. That wasn't the story of the game, though. It was 9-1 pretty early in that game, and K-State just went in and took care of business. Maximus Martin is a hell of a baseball player. Seth Dardar can hit the tar out of the baseball, and so can Keegan O'Connor. For those that missed it, against Nebraska, he hit a shot that was 480 feet. And for those that don't know, the average distance on a home run in Major League Baseball is 400 feet.
480 is a nuke.
Yeah, it was a goner. It hit the apartment complex across the street. That's what kind of shot. And K-State hits for power, and that's what they do under Pete Hughes. Kind of a slow start there, but they hit 8 in 3 games against the teams in Frisco, Texas. And again, pitching, I can't say enough good things about Michael Quevedo and Lincoln Sheffield. They both now have 2 wins on the year, so that's compliments to their work, being able to eat up some innings. Sheffield back-to-back weeks, back-to-back games, he's put in quality starts, and he's right now your Sunday guy. Michael Quevedo is coming in on Saturdays. He's taking care of business, He ends up pitching 5 innings, giving up 2 runs on 4 hits. He struck out 10. Sheffield struck out 7. And I'm really liking this Dante Lewis guy who comes in as a true freshman. He's coming out of the bullpen, and he's throwing 96 to 97 miles per hour. He's done so now in back-to-back weeks with that dangerous fastball. K-State's pitching ERA wasn't as good as it was in Arlington, but still 4.82. As a team, you'll certainly take that. The bullpen is doing a pretty decent job outside of, again, the LSU game where some runs were added for sure. Is the most runs K-State had given up in a long time this season. 8 runs against the number 2 team in the country. There is plenty to be excited about. And speaking of the excitement, you want to see this excitement in person Wednesday, Toyton Family Stadium against the Creighton Blue Jays. Look, at this point, K-State now just needs to take care of business the rest of this non-con at home because Creighton's 5-4. You're going to face them twice, this week and next week. They'll be on the road in Omaha next week. William and Mary is this weekend. They're 4-7. Omaha, you're going to Omaha next week to play the Mavericks. That's the team that beat LSU.
Yep.
They beat LSU a couple of weekends ago. And then Utah, Big 12 play coming up in a couple of weeks, and that's a 10-2 team. Look, you proved a lot in non-con play against these top 25 teams. Now go smother these teams that you should on your home field. Continue to prove it. Continue can hit the baseball. The only question I have right now is how far out is Carson Liggett? We have not seen him yet. And talking to Coach Pete Hughes in the preseason, it was a precautionary thing. I'm surprised we have not seen him through 3 weekends yet. Is it more serious than we thought? It's just speculation right now. Not even sure what the injury is. But that's the phenomenal all-ACC arm coming out of Louisville that hasn't been on the field yet. So if K-State does get him back really soon, then K-State's fully loaded and ready to rock and roll. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we take a look at last week in the Big 12. And if you want tickets to K-State Creighton Wednesday at 3 o'clock at Toyton Family Stadium, text us. Backcats. Text Backcats to 785-537-1350. More Wildcat Insider is next.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
At the Meadowlark Memory Program, we're here to help, offering support, valuable education, and practical strategies for those facing memory challenges and their caregivers. The Memory Program serves the Flint Hills region and is completely free. No referrals, no registration required. Just come as you are whenever you can. All classes and meetings are open to everyone because memory loss is a journey and no one should walk it alone. Learn more at meadowlark.org.
American Family Insurance.
At American Family Insurance, your small business is a big deal to us. You face challenges and you work hard to achieve your goals. As your American Family agent and business owner right here in your community, I've faced that too. I've built my business with the vision of helping you protect yours. Contact us today to see how we can protect what you've worked so hard to build with customized coverage that fits your needs. This is Rob Wild, agent at Wild & Associates, LLC.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Suicide is often a silent struggle, but no one has to face it alone. If you or someone you love is feeling hopeless, remember, there is help and there is hope. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Together, we can turn pain into healing and despair into strength. Help is always available. Visit Pawnee Mental Health's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1558 Hayes Drive or call our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through, or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
The Native community is big for me. Makes me feel good to pass on our Arapaho traditions. My kids love going up to the Sundance. I like to tell people the Sundance is about family. It's about the tribe. It's not just about the dancer. It's kind of like life. As a Sundancer, I'm just one spoke in the wheel. I need my family there. I need my role models. I need my people there, especially my children. Coming in that door, my family is ready to see me and they believe in me. Before, I'd never seen that from my people. But now when I walk in that door and I see those smiling faces and they're happy to see me, that's special. With my 4 kids, all I ask for them in Arapaho ways is health and happiness. Nothing more, nothing less.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
Up to 50% of American families are paying their adult children's bills to an average of $1,482 a month. Wow. I've never seen it like this. 25% of millennials, their parents are paying their house payment, their rent, or they're living in their basement. You pay your kids' bills. Psychologists call that enabling. As a matter of fact, enabling is quite the opposite of loving.
Go from paycheck to purpose with The Ramsey Show. Weekdays 10 to 1 on News Radio, KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast. Right now, 62, overcast and wind gusts of 33 miles per hour out of the south. Tomorrow into Wednesday, we're in a high wind warning with gusts as high as 60 miles an hour. That's the highest it gets on Tuesday night. Tonight, rain and thunderstorms likely before 3 in the morning, that chance at 60%. Tomorrow, rain likely, then rain and possibly a thunderstorm after 3, that chance at 80%.
My goodness, Cole really coming in hot with all these old WWE themes. We're back on Wildcat Insider. We're live on YouTube. Search for News Radio KMAN. We're live streaming, so you can watch us live. We're on camera, or if you missed the show, just check out our podcast. Just search for The Game on 1350 KMAN, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. We are available, and keep up with what's going on with the Cats. As we continue on with Wildcat Insider, Wyatt Thompson joining us at 5:10. We'll get into the Combine, the NFL Combine results for DJ Giddens, Jacob Parrish, and Marquise Siegel from this past week. Coming up at about 5:25-ish, 5:30. Some pretty impressive numbers. But there's one in particular that kind of stole the show. If you're of the K-Staters, one stole the show. Some incredibly impressive numbers. Some that were even better than some NFL Hall of Famers at that same position. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, coming up in hour number 2. So just a couple of things I want to touch on this last week of the Big 12. First of all, on the women's side, we do have a Big 12 regular season champion, and that is the TCU Horned Frogs. A low-scoring game, kind of a brutal shooting performance from both teams other than TCU basically winning by hitting three-pointers. But the Horned Frogs, last year, a team that won one game last year in Big 12 play, they go on the road and win in Waco. I did not think it would go this way. 51-48 the final score. The Horned Frogs at a record of 28-3, 16-2 in the Big 12, beat out Baylor for their first ever Big 12 championship. That's the first ever for the men's or women's basketball teams winning the Big 12. There on the women's side, to the TCU Horned Frogs, they are led by 16 points from Sedona Prince, 14 from Haley Van Lith, and for Baylor, and Aronette Von Lay had a layup with about 10 seconds to go to make it a 2-point game. Baylor had a chance to go tie it up. They did not. A wide open missed three-pointer to tie it with less than 5 seconds to go was missed from Yaya Felder, and that's what ended the Big 12 race for the Baylor Bears. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. It's just the whole thing just reeks of missed opportunity. I don't
for K-State.
For K-State, I don't think that either of those teams are particularly impressive overall. I think the same thing about compared to what K-State could have been if things had gone their way. I'm sure that sounds like sour grapes or whatever. I don't care. I also, for reasons that I don't think that we want to get into on the air, TCU, one of the least likable teams in college basketball. So,
yes, because of Sedona Prince.
Yeah.
Because of all these off-the-court domestic violence issues that she has. People signing a petition to have her dismissed from the TCU basketball team. This has now happened a couple of times. She's still on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
So, that's,
I think it's disappointing given that you had margin for error after the TCU game, and then you lose 4 out of the last 7. You kind of it reeks of last year. It's just it's deja vu from last season between Ayoka's injury and then just. I mean, even last year, kind of similar to this season, where K-State was playing okay in the first couple of games without Ayoka, where you had players stepping up, and then it just can't quite maybe maintain that consistency, and that's, again, been the issue. So it's just disappointing, given that this team, I think, for all intents and purposes, should have won a Big 12 regular season tournament. Just some unlucky things that didn't bounce their way throughout the course of the regular season.
One other thing, and I don't think we're going to have time to talk about it, but I do want to mention it. KU Zeke Mayo, after a loss to Texas Tech this past weekend, 78-73, was receiving some pretty racist threats after the game. He took screenshots and put them on social media, and he was, basically saying, I should have been better, all this, and that. Well, it led to, and there were some very racist things that were sent that were DM'd to him. That led to Bill Self putting out a statement on social media through the K-State official Twitter, the KU Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, all that, and saying, look, the blame goes to me. This should not go to the student athletes. When it's all said and done, the blame is on me. I highly doubt those were KU fans.
Yeah, I agree.
Were saying those were bettors. Zeke Mayo, because he went 0 from three-point range and they didn't beat Texas Tech at home. Zeke had a really bad day. KJ Adams probably had his best day on offense. People were pretty unhappy with Zeke Mayo after that game. Coming up next, Wyatt Thompson, the voice of the Cats. Join us for Hour 2 of Wildcat Insider.
Save big money on your next project now at Menards. For over 50 years, Menards has been a leading supplier of quality roof and floor trusses. Choose from our large selection of residential and post-frame trusses or design custom trusses specifically for your project. Order trusses for your building project today in store or on Menards.com. Plus, view our weekly flyer for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that.
Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store?
We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed.
We can.
I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that. Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
The 9th Annual Corporate Pinewood Derby returns Saturday, March 8th, 7 p.m. at Max Motors on Highway 24. Remember when you raced the Pinewood Derby? It's a fantastic adult team building event with a variety of sponsorship availabilities to race. If you want to just join us on the fun, $30 per person or $50 per couple. This includes refreshments and the live and silent auction. Come to the event for racing fun while supporting Scouting America Kansa District. For more information, go to mymhk.com. On the 9th Annual Corporate Pinewood Derby, Saturday, March 8th, 7 p.m. at Max Motors on East Highway 24. Support Scouting America Kansa District.
Kansas weather can be unpredictable. If you're listening to us and you hear these beeps, that means that we're expecting or experiencing severe weather within the Cayman listening area. Once a watch or warning condition has been handed down by the National Weather Service, we activate these beeps to indicate that you should keep listening as important weather information may follow. So again, if you hear this, stay tuned for weather information here on News Radio KMAN, your trusted voice for severe weather.
What? You want more? You got more. More of the game coming up next on News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo. Pick up your membership and enjoy the Sunset Zoo all year long.
Your News Radio KMAN weather update. Currently cloudy with a high near 59 and south wind around 15 miles per hour, could get up to around 30. Tonight you're looking at rain and thunderstorms likely before 3 a.m. and could continue into 5 a.m. Chance of precipitation is at 60%. And then Tuesday, you got some likely rain and possibly thunderstorms after 3 p.m. High near 61 with some breezy southeast wind, 10 to 15 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation is 80%.
We are back. Wildcat Insider, Mitch Fortner, Tim Everson. We'll take it to 6 o'clock. That's when the Jeff Mitty Show will begin here on KMAN. If you want to send a question to Coach Mitty, Brian Smoller always puts out a tweet asking for your questions. At Brian Smoller is his handle on Twitter. That's where you can find his tweet and ask him a question that'll get on the air for the Jeff Mitty Show. I was taking a look at some of these questions here during the break. Let's see. Yeah, we'll save them for the show. We'll save it for Brian Smoller and Coach Mitty for the show. Our phone number is 537-1350. Text BATCATS to 785-537-1350. If you want 2 tickets to K-State baseball against Creighton at home at the Toint, that'll be Wednesday at 3 o'clock for the home opener against the Creighton Blue Jays. Tim and I talked in the first hour about K-State's run once again in Frisco, Texas. Even though you lost to LSU, to me, that's one of the best. Like when it comes to positive losses, that's one of the best I've seen in quite some time. And I'm talking about in any sport. Just by it comes down to circumstances, right? Like where are you at in the season? How'd you do last year? You know, so many things come into play there. But you took the number 2 team, now the number 1 team in the country, 2 extra innings. And you were just a few feet away from D. Kennedy turning third, putting the pressure on LSU to make the perfect throw to home, which they did. They got the tag applied, but if just one thing is just a little off the mark, the throw goes a little bit too wide, the catcher has to reach and then come back and make the tag. K-State wins that game. I'm not a moral victory guy, but if there is one, I think that LSU loss by 3 in extra innings where you battled back a couple of times to tie it. And then the response afterwards, right? You stomp Sam Houston. You beat a really good Nebraska team 9-6 against a pitcher that no-hit you last year, and then you get him out of there in 2 innings. Pretty positive weekend for K-State baseball. Let's head to our special guest as we talk to Wyatt Thompson every Monday here on Wildcat Insider at 510. Wyatt, I really appreciate your time and hope you got a little bit of time this weekend to catch the Batcats in action and keep up with what Pete Hughes and company are up to, especially in Frisco, Texas. Again, how positive a weekend did K-State pick up in Frisco, and how legit does K-State baseball feel heading into the home slate?
I think we are all excited about what they have been the last 2 weeks, right? I mean, that's the thing. And I heard you, Jer, talk about the loss to LSU and fighting back a couple of different times. And that was a stinger of a loss because they had a real shot, right? But what impressed me was they come right back and then in the next 2 days win ball games, and that's what you do, right? And it hasn't always necessarily been like that every year. That's a tough thing. Their pitching has been pretty good since the first weekend. I think everything's been better since the first weekend. I can't wait to see them. Unfortunately, they've got opening day here on Wednesday, and I'll be in Cincinnati. We leave tomorrow with basketball, but there'll be plenty of times to watch. Let's hope, knock on wood, the weather kind of holds out a little bit for the weekend too. It's been a fun thing to cover. I was sitting there kind of following it on my computer yesterday, getting ready to go on the air for basketball, and there were a bunch of us around sitting there just kind of listening and watching the game tracker and all of that. It was fun.
Yes, it was. And I was watching from Manhattan High School, just getting prepared for the Manhattan games that night and just ready to go on air just in case we had to do a show and to finish up until 6 o'clock. and they take LSU to extra innings, and they're facing. I mean, in the perspective that being a Friday, you're facing their best guy. LSU, offensively is stellar. Defensively, they're pitching statistically early in the year the best in the country. Considering all of that, how positive is that loss, if that's the right way to put it?
Well, I think it's probably the right way to put it. I think you have to look at it in a lot of ways as a positive. Like you, I've never really been all that keen on, whatever you want to call it, moral victories or whatever, because the idea is to win. And I think Pete Hughes would be the first to tell you that. But I think it proves to you, and what we've seen, since the first weekend, that this team has, some abilities, and that's what excites me. I think it makes a statement that they can compete with anybody on a given day, and that's what you want. They've got, I think we'll find out as the year goes on, but right now, I don't know if you feel like I do here, but I've got a sense that they've got some good quality veterans back from last year's good run, and some exciting new pieces with that, and those guys have been good too right out of the gate. Now let's see if you can sustain it and, continue to get better, because, hey, we're not that far already. That's the thing about baseball. The non-con goes pretty quick, right? So you got to keep grinding here, and if they do that, I think they're going to create some excitement, and they already have, no doubt.
Yeah, Big 12 play a couple of weekends away against Utah. The Cats will be at home all this week. Creighton at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, and then a 3-game series against William and Mary will have first pitch at 3 o'clock coming up on Friday. All the action will be right here on News Radio KMAN, kind of dancing around in a little bit overlap as well with some high school postseason basketball right here on KMAN as well. Now, speaking of keeping up with things, as we have a ton of overlap season right now, but we just had the NFL Combine. I don't know how close you paid attention to that, but I thought overall it was an extremely impressive performance by all three Wildcats, especially DJ Giddens. Were you able to watch some of that?
I did, and what I didn't get to watch, like when it was on, I was following it a little bit on social media. I think everybody's starting to figure out that DJ is what we talked about for the last couple of years, right? A very productive guy who has flown under the radar. I thought, the way he performed at the Combine was admirable, probably better than most expected. I've said all along that I think the guy can play at the next level. And, as for Marquise and Jacob, no surprise from me. I'm sure you weren't surprised what they did. I've known all along those dudes are really good football players and can run. I think everybody was maybe a little surprised with the speed factor of it, but hey, I've seen them a lot. I knew they'd be good, and it turned out they were.
Wyatt Thompson is our guest. As we switch to basketball, I think I'm running out of original questions. To kind of ask, just because where we're at now, K-State's still certainly on the way outside looking in of trying to play for postseason basketball, especially certainly the NCAA tournament. But, seeding is still up for grabs. A bye in the Big 12 tournament is still up for grabs. But I wanted to get your thoughts from this past week on these two games, especially there was still a loss. It went to 4 straight, losing until they beat Colorado yesterday. But, UCF is another one of those desperate teams right now. And K-State went to Orlando. You made that road trip. K-State lost by 4 in that game, where it felt like their 2 best players was just a little bit better than K-State's 2 best players. Not having Coleman Hawkins, David's still kind of playing a little bit rough. What was your takeaways from the game in Orlando?
Well, it was frustrating, and there have been a lot of those in this conference season for K-State, and really probably towards the back end of the non-con, too, when you go through that stretch with St. John's, Drake, Wichita State. They were right there and just weren't able to do it. They weren't good enough defensively to slow down Keyshawn Hall or Darius Johnson. If you'd have told me before the game that they were going to score 76, honestly, I'd have said, hey, they got it. They got every bit of at least a 50-50 chance to win. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, because, without Coleman, if you're going to say we're going to go get 76 and the way they're capable of defending, I thought, all right. But unfortunately, it didn't work that way. UCF is a lot like a lot of other teams in the league, including K-State, through the ups and downs. You could throw Baylor in there, TCU in there, West Virginia. You get the idea. There's not a lot of difference, I think. I'd even throw KU in there right now if you're going to be blunt about it. But the game yesterday, one, it was just great to get the monkey off your back and get off the slide, right? That was the big thing. But I also know that Coach was really proud of the guys because he challenged them after UCF. And I heard you one day driving home talking about did Coach throw him under the bus? I don't think he threw him under the bus at all. And I don't know. I didn't hear enough of it to know what your thought was. But again, you got to be accountable with or without Coleman Hawkins and with or without Moby Garuka. And I think their preparation was good. Yeah, it was at home. That helps. And Colorado's not great. We all know that. But I mean, to jump out like they did to 14-4 and have a decent lead at halftime and kind of maintain it. They didn't shoot the ball great, but I think their defense against Colorado in the first half was pretty good. Man, they shot. I don't even remember what it was, but it wasn't great.
No,
and I love David what he's doing. Don't you? I mean, he's just been so rock solid in everything this year. He's 23 double-digit games in 29 tries and those kind of things. I mean, 5 20-plus point games. That was awesome.
Yeah, David yesterday was exceptional. And, yesterday's game, I don't know how to – I don't know how I can put this without kind of sounding like a jerk. I just kind of felt like I was on autopilot yesterday. It was kind of a let's get this over with type of thing just because – college basketball couldn't care less about that game, K-State and Colorado. That's a game Big 12 fans should really care about. That's old school Big 12 right now. That's a rivalry that's been around for a long time. And unfortunately, that's just not what it was. But if you want to talk about David for a moment, he probably had the quietest 21 points, 8 rebounds I think I've ever seen, especially in the second half. I thought he was getting everything in the second half. He was playing harder than anybody else, and Coach even kind of called out Buddy at the end of the game for not playing hard. There's one player that should be celebrated for sure, like Coach, advocating for the students to be there. David Gasson has one more home game, and he's playing the season of his career this year. He's been a major bright spot in K-State this season.
There's the one thing that I think a lot of people are worried about that we won't see moving forward in major college basketball because a lot of these guys aren't going to spend 3 years at one place, right? I mean, they're just not. And I think that's kind of sad. And I'm with you. Most people probably driving home listening to us know that K-State and Colorado, other than that one little stretch there, have been playing each other since the Big Seven. Yeah. Right? And I like that. I mean, there's a lot of history there. And I did look. Colorado shot 9 of 29 in the first half, 31%. And the other thing is K-State outscored them 20-5 in points off turnovers. They did force some turnovers. Now, they had a little help with Hammond, getting hurt there in the first half at point guard. So I guess everything's – but, hey, this has been a frustrating season for both of these teams. But I'm like you, man. I just hope people appreciate what David's doing. These kids have stayed through the process, even though it's been wildly across the board, up and down, roller coaster, whatever you want to say. It's been tough, but I was proud of their effort yesterday and proud of the results.
Kind of one more thought on this week and moving forward. You can't help it but to have kind of one foot out the regular season or the season in general, and have one foot looking at the postseason and how important it's going to be for K-State. But I've had a lot of thought about like retaining players. We've talked about it on this show multiple times, numerous times, about how retaining players for this next season from Jerome Tang is going to be crucially important. Maybe an easy question to answer, and it's an obvious answer, but is the most important player to retain for next year by just what we've seen in Big 12 play, is it Doug McDaniel?
Well, it certainly could be, but I may throw you a curveball here. I really like what Doug has done in the last, I'll say, 2/3 of the season. I think he's grown. I think he's grown up some. I think he's become more responsible. He's become a better player. He's become more accountable to his teammates. I mean, those are a lot of, checking the boxes there. But I also think if you could get another year from Max Jones, that would be monumentally huge for this team. Because if you kind of start just looking down the line there, you're going to have to replace Gasson and Coleman, right? But there's no reason you can't retain Austin and CJ and Doug and Castillo, Ugo, Moby. I mean, a lot of people think that because Buddy didn't play a lot, he'll jump into the portal. I'm not sure of that. Are you? I mean, I don't know that he will or he won't. I'm not making any predictions here, but my point is that if you could get another year from Max and all of those other guys are retained, it's so different than what they had to do this past year where they have, 11 new guys. And it gives you a chance to go get a couple of pieces that could really be impactful, or maybe 3. That's a whole different look from my perspective.
Well, why do you have a few extra bucks laying around that we can donate to Max so he can lawyer up and sue the NCAA and get that extra year?
Well, probably. I'll be honest with you. I'm so blessed in my job getting to work around these guys, and I mean this sincerely, man. I've enjoyed Max a lot.
Yeah, me too.
He is a neat young man to talk to. I love his competitive nature. I mean, he plays as hard as David did yesterday, right? I mean, he didn't have the same results, but he plays his tail off, man. And he's pretty good at most of it. Week in and week out, game in and game out. I go to bed at night hoping that they can find another year. I hope they're probably going to try to help him do that, obviously, and I hope it works.
Yeah, me too. I talked about it a couple of weeks ago when the ruling came down for that kid from Wisconsin about playing D2 and he's going to be able to play an extra year. He wanted 2, but he got 1. How that could change things, but he did have a unique case that may not affect everybody else that played D2, but we'll see.
It's not a given that Max will get it, right? But
kind of like the JUCO thing.
Well, yeah, and it's a little bit different, but it just seems like everybody has either been granted, a wish with the waiver, or they're suing and are winning because the last thing NCAA wants is more lawsuits, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to be funny in any way. I'm just being honest about that. And I asked Max on the radio show Thursday night, and he said, "Of course, I'd love to come back. I love it here." He wasn't just saying it. You could see it in his face. I think he's enjoyed the experience through all of this crazy ups and downs.
You mentioned that Max is such a great guy to talk to. You had a Drum Tang show the other day that you had almost everybody else on but Coach Tang. Who was your favorite interview of that show?
Well, that's a hard one because, Uric, how Uric is filled in, in his role. And I like visiting with Uric. He's funny, he's fun, he's informative. I thought he was really good as a fill-in. He downplayed it, of course, but I thought he was good. And the players were Max Jones and also David Castillo, and those two guys. Again, I'll say this too about Castillo. He hasn't had the year he's wanted, but here lately you've seen some glimpses of he's starting to just relax and play, which is what he kind of needed to do all along. You can tell he can shoot the ball, but he has struggled from the field. He has struggled from 3, but not at the foul line. And he's going to be good someday. I talked to Clint Stewart after I got off the air yesterday. He was here to watch him again and watch the Cats, and he said, "Wyatt, he's going to be just fine." And I agree with him. I think he will. So I enjoyed those guys a lot. I think they're probably, I would say I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think they and Coleman are all, and Brendan Hosson's a good interview, right? He's a good interview too. So we're fortunate there.
All right, one more thought, and Wyatt, I'll let you go. So take a look here at the Big 12 standings. People think there's nothing for K-State to play for. Well, I think there kind of is here because the Kansas Jayhawks are 2 games ahead of K-State. There's a chance that these two teams could tie in the Big 12. There's a chance that in Kansas City, maybe K-State goes on a little bit of a better run. You never know what might happen. So I want to just pick your brain here. KU has Houston. I think that's tonight, right? Houston tonight.
Tonight in Houston at the Fertitta Center.
And then hosting Arizona. K-State wraps up with Cincinnati and Iowa State. Do you think these two teams could potentially be tied at the end of the regular season?
I think it's a possibility. I wouldn't sit there and guarantee it. I just know this. They have 2 hard games left. But so does K-State. People forget Cincinnati lost here to open conference play and really struggled to get going. But they've also won 5 of their last 8. Have you noticed that? And since they've been a lot better since they started starting both of those outstanding guards, Day Thomas and Jizzle James, together. It's just been different. Now, part of that is because Lukosius has been dinked up a little bit, but they're a good team. They're long, lengthy with Bandego. Lukosius can shoot it. That's a good team. And you know Iowa State's going to come in here Saturday fired up, right? You know that. That's a given. But I do think K-State has something to play for. They need a little help to get out of the Tuesday side. That's what I'm most hopeful of, because then maybe you can make a run, right? But the problem is they need to win 2, and then they need a little help. There's your downside. That's just the way I see it, because they don't have the tiebreaker against, among other teams, Baylor and TCU and that kind of thing. So, you know, there's work to do. But I guess I've always looked at it differently than everybody else that way. If you can hang on and get to Wednesday and win a game, then it becomes a little more realistic, right? And maybe another matchup with somebody that K-State has beaten. You know, it's been a frustrating year, but they've also beaten Iowa State, Arizona, Kansas, right?
Yep.
I mean, it is what it is.
Well, Wyatt, safe travels up to Cincinnati. Do all the gimmicky things. Get the Skyline chili, whatever. And have you had it yet? Is this actually the first trip to Cincinnati? They played there last year, right?
No, we were there last year,
That's
actually.
Right.
You know, I had Skyline chili for the first time with Hugs. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Xavier. Yeah. I was so looking forward to it. And I love Bob Huggins. He was great to me, but I was more than a little underwhelmed with it. Have you ever tried it?
No, I've never been to Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Yeah.
It's just okay.
All right, Wyatt, well, I'll let you go. Looking forward to the call on Wednesday. Appreciate your time. We'll talk again next week. Thank you.
Yes, sir, partner. Appreciate you.
It's the voice of the Cats, Wyatt Thompson here on Wildcat Insider. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, do I think K-State's going 2-0 this week? I do not. I don't. I don't think they win at Cincinnati on Wednesday. Mitch Palm will give you the official prediction tomorrow. Wednesday, Friday, most likely not having shows. Big heads up on that because the Bad Cats are playing at 3 o'clock, so we're going to not have a lot of airtime this week. But we'll have Mitch Palm tomorrow for the Cincinnati game, and then Iowa State coming in here. Yeah. You don't have Coleman Hawkins. You're down Moby. Who knows how long. So K-State is wounded right now. Let's take a break. When we come back, we take a look at the results of the NFL Combine for K-State players. I asked DY the question last week of who might jump out and make a huge splash at the Combine. He said Jacob Parrish. There were 3 big splashes, but the biggest was not from Jacob Parrish. That's coming up next. Wildcat Insider.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
From simple things like hail damage to complete restoration, Quality Collision will keep your car looking as good as the day you bought it. And they work with all major insurance companies. Quality Collision, where quality is more than their name, it's a promise to their customers.
Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. You'll spend less time driving, saving you gas and time. And more importantly, you'll get home quicker to the ones you love. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
This month at Baskin-Robbins is chocolate chip cheesecake. Cheesecake and chocolate cheesecake ice cream with cheesecake pieces. It doesn't get any better than this. This month, all small shakes, blasts, and smoothies, only $5. Baskin-Robbins in downtown Manhattan. Come get some.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
Hey K-State fans, single game tickets for all 23 home games of the 2025 K-State baseball season are on sale now. Order your tickets today and make plans to catch the Wildcats in action this spring as they build on last year's 35 wins, regional championship, and super regional appearance. To purchase tickets, call 1-800-221-2287 or visit kstatesports.com. We can't wait to see you in Taunton.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
There are many times I thought, I can't do this. I mean, what parent isn't worried about, what am I not doing right? What am I not doing enough? And then I realized, wait, that's being a parent.
Don't worry about being perfect. I've had around 3 other mother figures in my life, but only one of them has taught me how a mother loves.
The greatest reward for me is he makes me better every day.
I would tell a family considering adopting a teenager that teenager, whoever it is, needs you, and they need what you have to offer.
Taylor's given me hope. He's our son, and that is what he will always be.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News, weekdays at 6.
I'm Troy Coverdale, and coming up on Tuesday morning, we'll deal with Mother Nature's bipolarity. Spring, winter, which is it? And why not both? Also, the latest headlines from the nation and the world through CBS. I'll have your local news headlines and, of course, the sports notes of the morning.
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Jimmy Kaufman here with a Wildcat Insider Sports Update. K-State's Maximus Martin was named the Big 12 Player of the Week after finishing with a 1.404 OPS and helping the Wildcat offense outscore opponents 28-17 at the Frisco Classic. The shortstop earned all tournament honors after finishing with the second most RBIs and runs, with 5 each in the tournament. Martin went 3 for 4 with 1 home run, 1 walk, 2 RBI, 2 runs scored, and 1 double versus Nebraska on Sunday. David Gasson had 21 points and 8 rebounds as Kansas State defeated Colorado 65-56 on Sunday to snap a 4-game losing streak. The veteran center moved past 1,000 points in his collegiate career with the effort. The Wildcats visit Cincinnati on Wednesday and finish at home against Iowa State on Saturday. Audie Crooks put Iowa State on her shoulders in the third quarter, scoring 14 of her career-high 36 points as the Cyclones blew past number 14 Kansas State 85-63 in the regular season finale on Sunday. Crooks went 6 for 6 from the floor in the third quarter to help the Cyclones open a 13 points leading heading into the fourth quarter. Former Kansas City Royal third baseman Mike Moustakas will sign a ceremonial one-day contract to retire a Royal on May 31st ahead of their game versus the Detroit Tigers.
Thank you to Jimmy Kaufman for that update. His first timer, guys. I think he was a little nervous. Couple of slip-ups, that's okay. Way better than my first time. I was all over the place, real fast, trying to be the coolest guy on radio. That's when you you were supposed to be kind of wacky, and because I've been in radio for so long. That's no longer the case. Good job, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Cole's now doing the training over there across the way. Meanwhile, here on camera, as we're streaming live on YouTube, I'm Mitch Fortner with Tim Everson from the Manhattan Mercury. Wasn't able to join us last week, but he's back in studio now. Hope you got a few seconds to watch the NFL Combine. There's only two things I'm interested in watching: the quarterbacks throw and the players run their 40s. Everybody wants to watch the 40s. That's the popular event. I feel like they're airing like less and less of the bench pressing. Am I crazy to say that? I feel like I'm just not seeing that as much anymore.
And that's one that I want to see. I want to see them big boys putting up the big weight. I think it's electric.
You know, when they start raising their butts off the bench, that they're really starting to wear down to get that bar back up for one more. Now, everybody wants to see the 40 times. I saw all three. Let's run through these results here. Jacob Parrish, K-State corner, leaving us a little bit early. He had the fourth best 40 time among corners at 4.35. Now, Cole, I believe you had a nugget on this one, right? Jacob Parrish's 40-yard dash.
It was Siegel. It was Siegel.
Or Siegel.
And we'll get to him later.
Okay. So we'll save it for that. But Jacob Parrish, he ran the fastest 40 time for any K-State corner ever at the NFL Combine. He had the third best vertical. He had the third best broad jump. And when it comes to his RAS, that's a service that basically, it's called the relative athletic score. So they take all your scores, they roll it up into a ball and come out with a number. And of that number, he got a 9.27. That's pretty good. Now, what the NFL folks did not like, Jacob Parrish isn't the biggest guy, his lack of size, and he didn't do well in the bench press. But ESPN still rates him as the 12th best corner, and right now it still feels like he is somewhere between rounds 3 and 4. That's a guesstimation. Like, still pretty preliminary in all that movement. He'll still have a pro day, of course. And I didn't see any of his interview stuff.
I didn't either, yeah.
That was another thing you didn't see a whole lot of, unless it was social media coming through for you. Marquis Siegel, a little bit of a surprise as well in some areas. A 4.37 40-yard dash. I'll let Cole jump into here. This is where he has that nugget.
That is literally a top 10 time in the 40 ever in the Combine for a safety. That is within the top 10, number 9. That's the 9th fastest 40 ever for a safety. That's
incredible. And I also saw Next Gen Stats was tweeting out about Marquis Siegel a couple of times, but the one that really stood out to me was his speed in the first yards of his run, where he reached 15.13 miles per hour really quickly. That was the third fastest mark by any prospect over the last 3 years of the NFL draft. So when it comes as well with the safeties, he had the fourth best vertical, 38 inches, the second best broad jump, 10 feet, 10 inches. So he had a really strong day. The downside again, like Jacob Parrish, he's not the biggest guy. Marquis Siegel is 5'11", but that was really the only downgrade. The thing is, though, with Siegel, he got invited as a guy that's probably no better than day 3. He may go as an undrafted free agent. Not sure how much the needle moved for him. I would assume the needle was moved in the right direction. He showed up in the top 5 in almost every drill there was at the NFL Combine, or a lot of the NFL, workouts. He was either top 5 or top 10 for the Combine.
Yeah, he only helped himself. It was a heck of a performance. There's definitely no boards that he's moving down on. The only thing he did with the Combine performance was to move up on all those boards.
But the surprise for a lot of us, in a way, especially with the speed, get to that here in a second, DJ Giddens. DJ had a phenomenal NFL Combine, to the point where I was expecting to see all these articles from these experts, all these draft people that were saying, look, of our risers and fallers when it comes to running backs, one of the top guys has to be DJ Giddens. He took an 7 or 8 spot jump when it comes to the ESPN best available for the NFL draft right now. He's still listed as the 16th best. I feel like he deserves a little bit better than that. But here's some of the numbers from DJ. His 40-yard dash was 4.43. Believe it or not, that is second all-time for K-State running backs at the NFL draft. Second all-time. I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have assumed that nobody in the history of time was faster than Darren Sproles. Especially if I'm 13, 14 years old, and you want to talk Darren Sproles, nobody's faster than Darren Sproles. Fastest man alive. Nobody catches Darren Sproles. You give him 3 steps. First of all, the D-line can't see him. The defense can't see him. He's going to hide behind the offensive line. You give him 2 steps, and he's gone. Nobody catches Darren Sproles.
I think what that shows, though, DJ, one of his top characteristics is how hard of a worker he is, and the 40 is very much something that you can train to be very good at. Obviously, you need to have all of the physical characteristics to be good at it, but as far as making little moves, and I know that he has been working day in, day out to have a performance like this, and it just shows. I mean, he will do whatever it takes to get where he wants to be.
But I felt like if there was one weakness that DJ had, it was that breakaway speed.
I thought that too, and I don't know if that's
top end
just
speed.
I don't know if it's just later, like maybe the stamina isn't quite there at a certain point.
Runs down after 50 yards.
Yeah, I don't know.
On that, the score chart you were talking about with Jacob Parrish, and maybe you were going to get to this. I believe DJ Giddens had a top 25 performance of a running back ever.
I'll get to that here in just a second. Back to the 40-yard dasher for just a moment. So I want to give a shout to the Kansas State fan on social media. Put together all these charts. K-State Wildcats throughout history at the Combine. So the fastest 40 by a K-State running back all time is 4.42. That was not Darren Sproles. That was Josh Scobie. And DJ was 1/100th of a second worse. So in other words, the exact same speed for the most part. I mean, the only difference between DJ Giddens and Darren Sproles was 4/100ths of a second. So literally the exact same time. You can't blink. You can't even blink in 0.2 of a second. That's how fast and how close these two are, but just in the nick of time. DJ with the second fastest 40 all time. His vertical jump from the running backs was the second best of all running backs. His broad jump was the second best of all the running backs. When it comes to his spork, if you want to call it that, his athleticism rating for the Combine, which I believe that actually technically isn't around anymore, but somebody's still putting it together. He was the 6th most athletic running back at the Combine. He was in the 90th percentile. But here's the deal. Bringing up, again, the relative athletic score that Cole just mentioned for DJ Giddens. Yes, it was one of the best of all time. Out of 1,909 running backs that have taken part in the NFL Combine since 1987, DJ Giddens had the 22nd best rating of all time. 22nd out of 1,909 running backs. And again, that loops up everything that you do in the Combine for the most part, rolls it up into a score, and DJ out of 10 got a 9.89 in athleticism. To give a comparison, and this was the running back that DJ by a couple of outlets was compared to. That running back was Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson's number was 9.67. DJ was a 9.89.
What do we think DJ would have gotten on the bench press? Because I don't think he did bench.
I don't know.
I think the nonchalant fisherman would have repped out at least 25. There's just no way. I think at least 25 plus. He just seems like he's the strongest individual on this planet.
He's not the biggest guy. Like, weight-wise, he's not. He's kind of on the low end when it comes to the running backs and his weight. He's a little over 200 pounds. And when you see him in person, you stand next to him, he's not the biggest guy.
I think, in my mind, he just plays a heck of a lot bigger than he actually is.
He does. When you put on the pads, when he puts on the helmet, he is
solid.
He's solid. Yeah, I mean, he does appear bigger on the field. Like, he's a little bit larger than life, so to speak, when he's on the field. But wait, I think that was the only thing that didn't get an elite score was his weight, which he was a little over 200 pounds. But, I mean, look, we all know DJ. We know how electric. He's so elusive. That's my favorite thing about him. He's probably my favorite cutter as in be able to cut on a dime in K-State football history. I kind of like him a little bit more. I mean, it's maybe Darren still slightly for me, but he's certainly better than. I think that's the one area, if anything, he's better than that Deuce Vaughn is.
Well, the fact that he's even in that conversation with
To me,
the
it's
style
close.
of body that he has, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that he's able to be in that realm.
DJ did get a very nice bump by those that evaluate the entire class, the best available. He got a pretty big jump from ESPN. His status has changed to where I think he was definitely a day 3 guy, and now he's teetering into day 2. I didn't see anywhere that anybody is like saying he's absolutely a day 2. I can't say that. Day 3 is still safe. Day 2 is a possibility. But that's a pretty big difference in money. Yeah. That's a big jump in money. He made some cash during this NFL draft, and I think a lot of people took notice of that, especially when you look at this class and realize this is one of the best running back classes in the NFL draft has had to offer, especially in a long time. It's a very long list, especially from the Big 12. Somebody who did not, out of the running backs, have a good combine was Ollie Gordon. His speed was not very good. He did not measure out well in a lot of these categories, and I hate to say it, but a former Cat that did not have a good NFL combine was Will Howard.
Yeah.
It's not like the 40 times, things like that. It was him throwing the football. He was pretty bad.
It was if you can find the video, it's some of the throws are a little shocking. Now, to his defense, throwing at the combine is very hard. There's a reason why someone like Shedeur Sanders didn't throw at the combine. Several other of the top quarterbacks are waiting until their pro day to throw. Shedeur Sanders even came out publicly on social media to defend Will Howard. I think he'll be fine. I think we all know who Will is. I think we all know that mechanically there are plenty of quarterbacks that are better than Will Howard. I think that Will offers some other things that will make him valuable to teams.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe last year a guy that still got drafted won a national championship and had a bad combine. Wasn't J.J. McCarthy really bad last year?
He was. Yeah.
Well, and if you need to see some tape of Will Howard being accurate, put on the first half of the national championship, and you'll get a pretty good idea that he can sling the rock a little bit.
Look at any game in that college football playoff run.
Right.
Pretty dominant. Like, he was the best quarterback of the college football playoff. Also consider the guys he was throwing to. A lot of those guys can make you look pretty good, but Will did. The Rose Bowl was the Rose Bowl. The whole season for Will Howard was, to me, the most impressive performance.
And who is he going to be throwing to in the NFL?
Pretty elite guys.
Exactly.
Just needs to get the ball there. But that Rose Bowl, that was like a ton of downfield throws. They were taking shots, and they were just deliveries on the money. So
I'm not worried. Hopefully he gets into a place where he has a good quarterbacks coach, and he's in a good position to kind of grow and learn. I think that's what Will needs. I will be surprised if he's ever like a big time starter.
Well, I saw. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Who thought Brock Purdy was going to be a starting quarterback and start a Super Bowl as Mr. Irrelevant with the San Francisco 49ers? I did not. Yeah. I think he sold his soul to the devil to make this all happen. I don't think it was from anybody legit, but there are like jokes going around that Will Howard is going to be drafted by the Raiders and was going to be a flop and all that. And he's like showing up and now all of a sudden on Raiders big boards and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know.
I hope not.
No,
for his sake.
Will he missed a lot of passes.
He did.
He airmailed a lot of things. He was throwing too hard or behind the guy, whoever's running for him. And plus, that's got to be annoying because also there's wide receivers trying to show off their game, and that quarterback is not connecting with you. That's got to be a little bit frustrating for some others as well. But a phenomenal day for K-State players. I think there's no doubt DJ Gins gets drafted now. I think there's no doubt at all that he's gonna be picked up. The question just is Marquise Siegel did he do enough to certainly move up enough boards to be draftable, which I think he is. It's just hard to tell where that's going to be. But I think DJ, now, no doubt about it, is now dipping his toe in the day 2 waters for sure. And that's very exciting. All right, let's go ahead and take our final break of Wildcat Insider. And when we come back this week in the Big 12, we mentioned a little bit earlier, can K-State go on a run to wrap up the regular season? Does KU finish Big 12 play above 500? We'll talk about that next on Wildcat Insider.
You're listening to Wildcat Insider.
No matter if your flight is departing or arriving, travel is more convenient when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago. Plus, by booking your next flight through Manhattan Regional Airport, you'll spend less time driving, saving you both gas and time. Why spend hours on the road when you can spend more time at your destination? Or more importantly, getting home quicker to the ones you love. Get back to the convenience of flying local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The experienced professionals at the Trust Company are recruited specifically for their financial, legal, accounting, and business expertise. They're also your neighbors who, guided by your hopes and dreams, will continue to deeply understand your aspirations and goals. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Our only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
If Kansas weather has taught us anything, it's to be prepared for everything. It's time to call M&S Plumbing, Heating and Air to make sure your furnace is ready. From full safety inspections to replacing your furnace, M&S Plumbing will keep you and your family warm this winter. If it's been a while since you've had your furnace serviced and inspected, be sure to call and schedule your appointment today. Simple fixes now can save you big money later.
Call the experts who care. M&S Plumbing, Heating and Air.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen on News Radio KMAN.
International Women's Day is a holiday celebrated annually as a focal point in the women's rights movement. Yusha Reddy and Mary Stamey will join us Tuesday.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen, weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN weather update this afternoon. Currently cloudy with a high near 59 and some south wind that can get as high as 30 miles per hour. Tonight we're looking at rain and thunderstorms from 3 a.m. and likely leading into 5 a.m. Chance of precipitation is 60% with south wind at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Then Tuesday we got some more rain coming around after 3 p.m. High near 61, breezy with an 80% chance of precipitation.
All right, your last chance to get some K-State baseball tickets at the end of the show. We're calling a random number that texts in Wildcats to 785-537-1350. Again, it's your final chance to win 2 tickets to K-State baseball Wednesday for the home opener against the Creighton Blue Jays. Again, text Wildcats to 785-537-1350. A random number getting a call at 6 o'clock to win those tickets. So now is your last chance to submit your opportunity to win these tickets. All right, this week in the Big 12, of course, on the women's basketball side, on Wednesday, the Big 12 tournament opens up at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. K-State are the 5 seed, so they'll get a first-round bye. They're going to play Thursday at 11 a.m. against the winner of UCF and BYU. That is the 12-13 matchup. I feel pretty good about K-State beating whoever that is. So the Cats move on to Friday to play at 11 a.m. again and face the West Virginia Mountaineers. I think that's a much better opportunity for K-State to win that game since it's away from the WVU Coliseum because the Mountaineers do not play well away from home. And then it's all about then at that point most likely facing TCU. But I think if K-State can get 2 wins, much better opportunity, of course, to host the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. I think it's concrete at that point. If they were to somehow make it to the Big 12 championship game on Sunday without Aoka Lee. And then on the men's side, well, we come down to the final week of the regular season. K-State going to be at Cincinnati for a 6 o'clock tip-off, and that'll be right here on News Radio KMAN. Or excuse me, not on Wednesday. We'll have Manhattan High Hoops. I'm sorry about that. We're going to have the men's basketball team on 101.5 K-Rock, but it's pregame coverage at 5 against the Cincinnati Bearcats, who right now, they're a bubble team. And then K-State on Saturday at 12:30 will be hosting Iowa State for Senior Day inside of Bramlage Coliseum. Now, KU plays tonight against Houston. They then will play this weekend Arizona. I'll ask you, Tim, the same question as we wrap up here. How many games does KU win? How many games does K-State win to wrap up the regular season?
I do not believe that KU will win either of their games. And I also do not believe that K-State will win either of their games. Sorry to really let the air out of that balloon. I would be happy to be proven wrong by K-State, but I don't see it.
I can't say I disagree with you. I mean, KU has their whole team, and they still stink. But K-State is without Coleman Hawkins, Moby Ike Garuka. Who knows how long he's going to be out. K-State now super shorthanded for the most part when it comes to their top talent, and they're already got a losing record. They're 8-10 in Big 12 play. They kind of salvaged it there for a little bit, but
facing two teams who will want revenge from the earlier matchup in the season.
Cincinnati's desperate. Iowa State has seeding to play for. They're playing for a top 4 spot. That's going to wrap it up for Wildcat Insider. We're back for a full 2 hours tomorrow. No show on Wednesday with K-State baseball on air. We wrap it up for the boys. I'm Mitch. Go Cats.
Wildcat Insider, an exclusive presentation of the flagship station of the K-State Sports Network. News Radio 1350, KMAN.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's new construction or expansion,